So this is the last in my batch of XL-sized starships for the time being. As you can see, this is the USS Voyager NCC-74656, a ship which unfortunately got lost a rather long way from home and was an interesting concept because normally if a ship got damaged it could just run through the local star base and get itself sorted out, but Voyager did not have that luxury, and over time that element of it did start getting ignored quite a lot, it has to be said, because I think they realised that trying to do that in every single episode would get pretty old pretty quickly. So gradually that sort of issue just got swept under the carpet, and arguably that was workable because they would have found ways to adapt. But what Voyager then went on to do was to find its own space, I think unfortunately at the cost of some of its characters' development, but the actual storylines, although they started to rely on people like the Borg quite heavily, which in and of itself was a bit strange, it did end up being a very watchable series as they went, and it definitely deserves its place in the Star Trek pantheon. So let's have a look at this one. As you'll see, it's quite an unusually long and thin box. That's obviously because it's going to be a long and thin starship. And that was one of the unusual things about a Voyager right from the get-go, is that its design was immediately quite different to the ships that we'd seen up until that point. The classic Eaglemoss packaging here. Nothing is going to damage this in transit whatsoever. Let me just rustle the stand off just to demonstrate that it is a genuine unboxing and not one I've opened earlier, because stands are always in these little cellophane wrappings. And so that's the standard Hero Collector Eaglemoss stand. Tells you what ship it's for and has felt on the underside so that you can't knock it off the shelf terribly easily. And here is the ship itself. Now, yeah, she's pretty heavy because I think, actually I'm not actually sure how much of her is actually metal, but there's a lot of weight to her. And the immediate difference that you notice between her and other Starfleet designs is just how big her primary hull is. She's got this huge sort of teardrop shaped primary hull, which is very unusual. There's no neck there. She's really sort of bolted straight onto her secondary hull and the warp core in here, and so the secondary hull and the primary hull is almost one sort of contiguous smooth curve there, all the way up from the back to the front. And of course she had variable geometry warp nacelles, which again we'd never seen before. So these came up to about 45-degree angles in order to let it go to warp. So it was a bit of a gimmick, maybe. She was also capable of planetary landings very explicitly, because she has landing struts that are, I think there were about 4 tucked away in here somewhere. I couldn't swear to and tell you exactly where they are. She's got very sort of enterprisey phaser strips that allow her a very large, significant arc of coverage for a phaser fire, and more sort of standard torpedo launchers here, 2 there, and aft torpedo launchers I think about there. And obviously shuttles. Now I'm not going to talk about her shuttles, although I just have. But anyway, we all know that she had an interesting complement of shuttles for a ship stranded a long way from home that was losing them regularly. But we'll sketch over that. But in terms of this actual model itself, it's classic Eaglemoss. Incredible level of detail of painting and everything else there. Very, very solid. It is just one solid chunk, so nothing's going to drop off this. And again, this is XL size. This is the larger version of the ships that they do, and looks great on the shelf. And that's going to be one of my longer ones. I think probably on a par with the old USS Excelsior. So, as ever, I would recommend trying to find these on 3 for 2 offers if you can, because it greatly reduces the unit cost of them if you try and build up a collection. This was part of my hero ship justified collection, in so much as I felt that if I was going to get all the Enterprises, which I seem to have accidentally fallen into, then I also would get the hero ships from the other series as well. So I've just done a video on the Defiant. If you want to go and have a look at that one, it should be up at the time you see this one. And of course now I've got the hero ship from Voyager, so I'm covering my bases fairly well. What I really want to start finding now is some of the what I would call the Challenger ships. So in the small, I've got a smaller version of Voyager already, and I've got a Species 8472 ship and a Borg cube to go alongside that, because obviously they're the obvious Challenger ships to Voyager. But I could do with some of the more traditional ones, and ideally, some big ones of those as well, just to balance things out. That's my justification, and I'm sticking to it. So yeah, so there's Voyager. So I did quite well with this little haul on this particular offer, which is better than average actually, because you do have to sort of write yourself a bit of a list, because they're not always all in stock at the same time. And now I might need to go out and hunt some individual examples down just to fill gaps. But I'm hoping some more come into stock soon, so that I can try and expand a little bit further away from just the Federation ships. So thank you for watching. Do check out the playlist that I've got for these unboxings. I've got a few unboxings on there now. There's another guy called Irish Trekkie who does unboxings as well. I think he's got a far vaster collection than I have. So if you're interested in a particular ship, you're more likely to see it on his channel than mine. But I'm doing what I can at my own little pace, because I'm a bit late to the party on these ones. But yeah, but they're always really, really impressive when I opened the box. First one I ever looked at was just blew my socks off. Incredible level of detailing, and I'm rubbish at plastic kit models. So this for me is by far and away the best way to go about it. So thanks for listening. Do like and subscribe if you want to hear about new videos, obviously. And I'll see you around. Cheers.